Hi everybody, my name's Carolyn. I chose to do alcohol and drugs for my social problem. I feel that it's a social problem because it affects um, people all over the world, um, small communities, big communities. I think that, and it doesn't discriminate against races. It affects all different kinds of races. So that's why I chose that problem. I think why it's a social problem also is because it affects many other things like families and people getting jobs, holding jobs, mental health issues. So that's why I feel like you know, it's a social problem. Um, so, some background of the social problem and how it affects people. Like the book says, alcohol and drug affects many people, men and women. Children are also affected by alcohol and drug abuse. Um, some other things that come with that are trauma and childhood adversity, childhood abuse, neglect, mental health problems, poverty, peer substance use, and drug availability. Also, a negative school climate and drug seeking. Things that can affect a person um, to seek help are relationships, careers, their status, their self esteem that can, ultimately cause them to want to get help, losing those things. And out of men and women, women have a higher chance of going to jail for drug offenses, and that could be for drug trafficking or, the men just making the women take the chances because they would have a less chance of getting caught. And that also affects children. If the mom is in jail, then they're forced to live with somebody else. So that can affect them that way. Alcohol and drugs can also cause long term and short term effects. The long term would be like health conditions and, cirrhosis, things like that. Short term could be death and also like bleeding and stuff like that. So that could be some short term. Some underlying issues. I found some information on World Health. I like to go to that website because I feel like they have a lot of information on like stats and stuff. And some that I found was that harmful use of alcohol results in 3.3 deaths, 3.3 million deaths each year. And on average, every person in the world age 15 or older drinks 6.2 liters of pure alcohol per year. So that's a lot of people drinking. And some 31 million persons have drug use disorders. So that's also a big number of people affected by drugs. And almost 11 million people inject drugs, of which 1.3 million living with HIV and 5.5 with hepatitis C, and 1 million both HIV and hepatitis C. So that's a lot of people, with, carrying diseases like that. And some solutions to the alcohol and drug issues is caregiver involvement and monitoring, health and neurological development, coping skills, emotional regulation, physical safety and social inclusion, safe neighborhoods, quality school environment. That kind of goes back to what I said before about the school. And also treatment, which that can be a 28-day program or longer, depending on the treatment criteria. AA, known as Alcoholics Anonymous. That's for people that have problems with drinking. They can go to these programs to get help. And also Narcotics Anonymous, that's for people that do any kind of drug. They can go there and, vent about how, the drugs are affecting them, and they can find support and also get a sponsor. That's somebody that's been in the program for over, I think, a year or two, and that they can kind of like mentor them and help them and take calls if they're struggling in the middle of the night or something. So that kind of helps with that. I think this all goes with the conflict theory, because I read that it said something like, they need to start working like in the small areas, like schools and homes and like the middle class, and trying to better them, or in the lower class too, that it's not, the wealthy people, they don't have these problems because they don't have to deal with, you know, money situations and stuff like that. So that's why I felt like it kind of went with the conflict theory. So that was about all I have for that. I do want to add that I do work in a treatment center for Native Americans, and I see a lot of this, kind of what they talked about. And the most common drugs that I've seen people struggle with is methamphetamines, alcohol, marijuana, and pills. So it makes sense, when I read all this stuff. And so I mean, it doesn't affect. I mean, it affects people in small areas as well as big. We live in a small community, and it's just, you'd be amazed of how much it affects people. And it's like that on every reservation. I lived on 4 reservations my whole life, and I've seen the same thing, and it's just, it affects everybody. So hopefully some of my information helped, and thank you.